Are you trying to get into wedding photography, but nobody wants to hire you because you don't have any experience? You never did any weddings before. What if I told you there's a way for you to get the experience that you need while still actually getting paid to do it? Stick around. A lot of people have been asking me on the channel, hey Jonathan, how can I get paid to do weddings, but I don't have experience? Actually, they haven't been asking me that on my channel. This is a fairly new channel and I don't have a ton of subscribers yet. But you can help me with that by hitting subscribe now and the notification bell. Back to the question. I've seen people ask that question many times. And this is something that I struggled with a lot when I was just starting off as a wedding photographer. I wanted to get into weddings, I wanted to start doing weddings, but at the same time I was a little bit worried if I was to actually be hired, what am I going to do? Sure, I checked out online, I looked at tutorials, read articles, looked at videos, but looking at videos online is very different from actually applying something and making it become a skill. So I really was not that confident in going out there and leading the wedding photography at somebody's big day. What if I missed something very important that couldn't really be recreated, like the exchanging of wedding rings? What do I tell the bride and groom? Do I tell them that, sorry I missed your shot, could you please just exchange rings again? I wasn't paying attention, or I didn't know what I was doing. This is my first wedding. Or maybe I was looking at one of the bridesmaids. First, let's take a look at the problem. First thing is that nobody knows who you are. Wait, please don't leave. Hear me out. You can't be referred to by past clients or current clients because you don't have any. Even if you had a friend who was to put you on to somebody who was actually getting married and they mentioned your name, they'd be like, who? Okay, I'm done, I promise. The next thing is that you are not confident as a wedding photographer. I wonder why is that? Maybe it's because you never did any weddings before. Some people can fake it really well and actually look like they know what they're doing. I am not one of those people. I need to know what I'm doing. You just submit your pictures and wait till the angry bride asks you, what happened to the other half of the wedding? Did you fall asleep? Where are all my pictures? The next thing is that you don't have experience as a wedding photographer. That actually sounds like the point before, but it's different. You don't know what to expect when you're shooting a wedding for the first time. Sure, you've been to weddings before, but you most likely would have been attending weddings. You would not have been thinking about it then as the photographer. You would have been a guest. So you would not have been thinking of this shot is coming up next, this is going to happen next, so you need to be in this position. Thinking about that versus what time dinner is going to be served. And that's something I'm always thinking about. The next thing is that you don't have anything to show for it. Okay, let's say a friend actually puts you onto somebody and they want to have a conversation with you. What if they ask you, what was the last wedding that you did? Can I see some of the pictures? Where was the venue? Was it indoor or outdoor? Do you have a page that I can take a look at? Facebook page, an Instagram page, or your website where I can see more information about you and your photography brand? Or what if they ask you something like, we want to make sure that we don't miss any family members in the family portrait session of the wedding. We have a big family and some people are visiting from different countries. What can we do to ensure that we don't have any mistakes, that nobody gets left out? What are you going to say? Yes. Okay, now on to the last point. Nobody knows you. Definitely said that already. Okay, so how do we fix this? How do you get that experience, get known, build that portfolio? How do we do this without actually booking a wedding yourself as the main photographer, the main shooter? It's by getting hired to be the second shooter. The shooter number 2. Well, not number 2. The second shooter. Let's stick with that. So what is a second shooter? Basically, you work alongside another photographer at weddings, where this photographer would already have a client and hire you to be the person that gets different types of shots. This can range from getting the creative shots at the wedding, getting the spur of the moment, or it can be a huge wedding where he or she can be in all the places at once and needs somebody else to cover different parts of the event. In some cases, a second shooter could be hired to cover the main aspects of the ceremony and reception, or just getting a different perspective. The type of shots that was important to the bride and groom at some of the weddings I did as a second shooter as well as some of the weddings where I hired a second shooter, was getting the two different perspectives. When the bride is walking towards the groom in the ceremony, I would position myself to get the bride's reaction when she sees the groom for the first time, and I would have the second shooter get the groom's reaction just over the shoulder of the bride when they see each other for the first time. Now, this approach, the pressure is off a lot. You are not the point of contact with the client. I was not leading the wedding photography. This way, I was able to take a step back and focus on learning, on experiencing what it's like from beginning to ending, so that when I'm actually booking my own weddings, I would know what I'm getting into. And it was very helpful for that. And I got paid to learn. Sure, it wasn't the same price that I would make if I booked the wedding myself, but it helped me to do that much sooner and to charge a premium price as well. I thought this was the quickest way of getting the experience that I needed, getting a portfolio quickly, and make some money while I was actually doing that. But how can you get started quickly? I'm sure that you know at least one wedding photographer or know somebody who knows a wedding photographer. Reach out to them and let them know that you want to get into weddings and you are a photographer. Show them what you can do already and negotiate your price. Or let's say you don't know anybody. Take a look on social media and you must find some wedding photographers in your area, and then you can see in their portfolio how often they do weddings and simply reach out to them. But separate from the money, separate from making some money on the side, how can being a second shooter actually benefit you? What it did for me, the first client that I met with after I did a few weddings as a second shooter, I was able to easily answer the questions that they had and ask a lot of the relevant questions because I needed information about their wedding before I can quote them properly. I was able to advise them on things that they should be doing and arranging for the wedding and to make sure that they get the most out of their wedding photography. But even more than that, I got to actually bond with them and build that rapport, build that trust, and really got a chance for us to get comfortable with each other. And I was able to do that because I didn't have to think about the technical aspect of it. And I could have done that now because of the little experience that I got as a second shooter. I didn't have to think about everything wedding photography that I didn't know about. At the time, I was by no means an expert, but I knew more than enough information to get started booking my own weddings. And I'm hoping that you can use this information and get started yourself. Now, if you ever did weddings before as a second shooter or have some questions related to being a second shooter, let me know in the comments down below. So how about you get started? What's stopping you? Get paid to learn, then book your own weddings. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You make some extra money on the side. I'll see you in the next video.